First time for everything. Could be there because you got the council. You're right.
Okay. Welcome to the June 29th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. I would like to have you all stand and pledge allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're going to start with public comment. Does anyone have any comments to make? Yes, sir. You'd like to, where do you want to stand?
And the stated name.
Just state your name.
I'm Representative Lewis Blue for this district. And if the EPA has its way, these local slaughter plants will be shut down. Everything coming out of there has to be pure. Where now it goes to the sewer system, but it's cleaned by the city. And as of January 1st, if they implement it, it'll cost these local slaughter plants $1 million to put in the equipment and up around $500,000 a year to maintain it. Now, Riley has a great little slaughterhouse. There's a couple other counties or more than that, and they've made resolutions, their commissioners, on how they're against it. And I'd like to give you each a copy and have you consider making your own resolution against it. Even though I don't know how much good it's going to do, at least it's something.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, we'll go forward with our business meeting or the commission comment.
Monday, after our meeting, I attended the intergovernmental luncheon anniversary. Our appraiser was the speaker, and she had a great talk about appraisals and tax exemptions. A lot of information we knew, but it was good for the other officials in the area to be brought up to speed with what they need to know about stuff. That was pretty good talk. Tuesday evening, Vern Hendricks came to the city of Riley to discuss the Greater Bend Community Foundation. There's interest in setting up a community foundation for projects. We want to try to do that. We discussed what the GMCF could do to help with this and what we needed to start in Riley. We had a lot of information, a lot of stuff I didn't know about details of how that worked and what they could do to set it up. Probably do that after that. So the Riley City Commission meeting there. And Wednesday we had a meeting with the contractor and the architect out of the Park County Entrance project. I think that good progress is solving commitment tonight. There were a few questions brought up. I think David had to go over that later. And then this morning I was reviewing the budget worksheet we received, trying to digest the numbers. There's still a lot of work to be done.
Yes. I want to start off by mentioning something I didn't mention in Monday's meeting, but back home, family and friends and other people suffered some pretty good damage from a series of tornadoes that went through the area. I got some pictures from my aunt. Her house is pretty much in shambles at this point in time. So the storm back in December of 21 just barely missed them. This one hit them head on. So just wanted to mention that. Just keep everybody down there in that area in thoughts and prayers and moving forward. The National Weather Service actually rated that an EF2, not very high EF2, but it did quite a bit of damage. So Monday afternoon, I too attended the June intergovernmental meeting hosted by US 383 at Rock and Hayes up on campus. As mentioned, Ann Burson, our appraiser, gave a really good presentation. But they were able to get that sent out to everybody with some updated numbers and figures and data on just kind of where we're at right now. So there was a lot of good questions and dialogue, and it was well attended as well. So following up with that Monday afternoon, we did have a special meeting of the Riley County Law Board. course, that was mainly to sort through and discuss and to vote on the budget for the fiscal year 2024 as statutorily required. We heard quite a bit from a few individuals, both in the community and within the organization during the public comment section in regards to that budget. Spirited discussion and some questions of our own occurred afterwards, and we kind of narrowed it down to 2 final proposals out of 6 that came across along the way. I think one of the more interesting dialogues of the 3 that I've been part of before, but budget 5 was, I think, the one that was actually voted on and was passed on a vote of 4 to 3. Represents approximately a little over $1.8 million, or about a 6.5% increase over last year's budget. I voted no on that proposal. I'll explain why in just a minute. There was a secondary proposal that was put on the table and a motion to pass, and that one failed on a vote of 4 to 3. So we ended up with budget number 5. It includes a small portion of the salary survey to be implemented next year, and in that range of 6.5 in terms of a cost of living adjustment. I voted no on those proposals because I'm concerned at the total increase that was incorporated in each one of the budgets, and overall moving forward, the repercussions that has both to the county and those of us who obviously live here at this particular point in time. With that, that budget is raised pretty close to 20% over 3 years. There's an impact to the city of Manhattan, obviously, and there's an impact to the county, specifically in terms of how we budget moving forward with those things too. So I took all that into consideration when I made that final vote. Regardless of what everybody thinks about that one way or the other, I'm good. My conscience is good about that. So Tuesday afternoon, I attended via Zoom the July Board of Directors meeting for County Mental Health. We first listened on the finance committee meeting to go through the finances. I'm on that committee. Items of discussion in the main meeting included reports from the Chief Financial Officer, Bob Hansen, the Chief Executive Officer, Robert Cole, with several program updates, a presentation on the transition to the, sure I get this right, I'm not going to say it all either, but CCHBC, that transition is officially taking place on Saturday. So I really talked about that pretty good. Yeah, here we are. Becky Woodward gave that presentation on what that transition means, what we can expect over the next couple of months as they kind of work through that. We all know when you make those transitions, the base laid plans will just get laid out pretty much. So there'll be some things that they'll have to adjust to make sure that it looks really good. They set themselves up, I think, as well as they possibly can to make that transition. A couple of committee reports followed, including the Finance Oversight Committee and Services Committee, respectfully. Other business by the board included a draft budget for 2024 budget season. Approved the credit card usage and approval by staff members. Approved the delegation of authority to be able to approve expenditures of those Pawnee funds, including the credit cards. A review and update on the bank signature cards, and then a final update for approval on the updated strategic plan that will go out to 2025. Last evening, I met with a small group of citizens to chat about some county related functions, including our elections process that goes into appraisals and evaluations. Hopefully I didn't chop that up and destroy it completely. I think I did okay on that. Our county budgeting process, which we're obviously working on currently. And lastly, the ongoing dialogue we're having on our flexible and condensed county schedules or 410s. For the record, it was a good conversation. This was mainly just for educational purposes. They just wanted to hear somebody from the county talk about some things and ask some questions. Quite a few people in attendance. Of those people, a lot of them are aware of these processes and the work and the efforts and resources that go into accomplishing all of them, which were very complimentary. And many people are actually complimentary of both our staff and the high levels of services that we do provide here within the county. So I'm going to take a moment just to mention that. And lastly, got some somewhat good news this afternoon. Kansas is receiving $451.7 million for high-speed broadband and infrastructure. That's been something that's been talked about here over the last month and a half or so. talked to members of Twin Valley Telephone and WTC that were aware something was coming, just didn't know what the entire dollar amount is. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say it's probably a lot larger than what was anticipated. This will go along with some of those programs and other infrastructural projects from around the state within that Office of Broadband, rural broadband development. So good things on the horizon there, good things on the horizon here. If we can take advantage of that, use that to develop those services here in Valley County, we'll work as hard as we can. So that's all I got.
Great. From Monday, I too attended the intergovernmental luncheon in private case. Listened to anniversary of their presentation. It was really good and very informative. There are a lot of questions from the audience. Then after the presentation, very short miscellaneous updates were given, and that made the announcement that our county offices will be closed. It's coming Monday, July 3rd. So we won't be there Monday. Our next meeting will be today. That afternoon, I continued to make some calls to property owners in Keats. In the Keats area, we're looking for property to put on the green line. So they're reaching out to a lot of farmers, people that have property around the area. It is a tough time to reach people. I think that, a lot of they're either out in the field working or they're on vacation with the kids, so it's kind of tough. Still working on that. Tuesday, I had a doctor's appointment, and then I had to take my car into some repair work, so they took me back home, and I worked there until power was done. Did some research on a new company, and in that building, this foundation, it's called SharePoint. Guys are aware of that. It's a company that was developed in my whole family, and they're trying to make some encourage younger graduates, the agricultural graduates, maybe increased from 2011. They started with 3 people. They're up 115 million out there. So it's amazing for a rural community to develop like that. And so they do computerized farming. So it's quite a process. They started on their homestead, which actually they're cousins of mine, because cousins everybody out there. So they're cousins of mine, and they started on the old homestead, and they just expanded with warehouses. Let's see. Then I did watch part of the law enforcement board meeting on TV. The budget was passed, but that's not all I can say. So it's a lot of discussion.
You have no idea.
Anyway, and then Wednesday, my lunch group that usually meets on Sunday, we're going to get together on Wednesday. As weekends have been not working out lately. So we came up to Raleigh and had a lunch at Raleigh Cafe and had a good time. Fortunately, I didn't have to drive, so I was able to check out the crops on coming back home. Everything's growing great. So it's like it's going to be a little bit different farm crops. Later that day, I reviewed all the documents for tonight's meeting. I looked at the budget and all the additions to our budget. And then I had some emails, it's phone calls. I will be leaving early tomorrow morning in Virginia for the holiday, but I will be reachable if necessary by phone, email, or text message. I'll have my phone on. They have really good internet. This is fun. Great. And I will take my iPad. So that's all I have. We can go forward with this.
I was just gonna add, I too am gonna be heading out to Western Kansas. I, however, will not be reachable, but I will still have my phone on just in case.
Okay.
Ready for business, commissioners? First time I have an agreement for software services with Intech Software Solutions bonus elections.
Is this the software that goes along with the hardware that we are going to be receiving?
No, that's Easements. This is a separate program. This is a new product we'll be using. It's basically an election management, equipment tracking, inventory system. Developed with poll workers, the tracking of equipment, scanners, because the big thing, as you know, we were one of the 15 counties that got to go through the election audit process, and that's one of the big things they are. Knowing where each and every piece of equipment is every time, scanning it before you leave, scanning it when it gets to the location, something Mike's gonna get very familiar with as well, in delivering our equipment. And staff can scan it there before it leaves, to come back here, scan it again, get back. So as you know, with elections integrity is of the forefront of the nation. So this is something to help us manage that better.
So this is in addition to.
It is in addition, yeah, it does come out of the elections budget. Total amount for first year 17,150. So, yes,
So this one.
will not come out of CIP.
I guess with that said, then I'll make a motion to approve the agreement for software services with Intex Software Solutions for voter selection software contractual provisions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agreement for software services, with the Intake Software Solutions and voter selection software and contractual provisions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sure, you sign it. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution, repealing resolution 06-26-23-32, authorizing construction of sewage treatment and disposal improvements to serve the existing University Park Sewer District and Lakeside Heights Sewer District located in Riley County, Kansas, due to errors in the legal description.
And Deputy Counselor Craig Cox has some information on this, and I'll plug in a key component. I don't think he's going to tell
You signed the resolution on Monday, which is the authorize the construction of the sewage treatment disposal system in Lakeside University Park. There was a legal description of the benefit district attached to that resolution, and there were errors in describing some of the properties that were within the benefit district. And what I'm handing out is just a list of what those errors were. If you look on the left-hand side, those were the descriptions I used. When I created that legal description for that resolution, I went back to our file in our office. When we relined the sewer lines out there, that was like 2016, and using the legals, never thinking that we should double check and see if there's been any replanning. Well, just about the time that was to go to you, the clerk's office discovered that on the right-hand side, each one of those items had been replatted. They've taken a number of lots and replatted it into one lot. And that gives it a new legal, and legal description was on the right hand side. They're all lot one and unit 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's the legal we have to have for the purpose of this resolution. That's how those properties now identify. So we have to have the current proper legal description. If this is going to be an effective resolution for funding and for assessment of the cost of the project. So because we made that error in the first one, this resolution is repeal the resolution you passed on Monday and to adopt the one that was in your packets this afternoon, this evening, that has these proper legal descriptions.
As I thought, he's leaving out the part that he talked to me about this after the clerk's office staff was there, told Craig, he told me, and that's the last I thought of it, because I told him I would pull that resolution on Monday. I didn't do it. So he's just being diplomatic by not describing it to you. That's where things broke down, because he had described it to me. As I said, didn't think to pull it on Monday. It accomplishes the same thing that you did Monday. It only does it in the manner that's actually involved. And we'll support it. And we'll actually support it. A little detail. But with these corrections, the resolution will do what it needs to do. And, we're not going to.
These three properties, we need to use the new replatted legal description.
So let me make sure I understand this from a procedural standpoint. We're going to repeal it and then basically reauthor it.
With the proper legal description. It's the same exact resolution, not even with the proper legal descriptions, but the properties don't have.
Two motions, A and B, are those correct?
Well, you need to pass the repeal resolution first, and then make a motion to adopt the corrected resolution.
And these are the correct numbers of the resolution. So,
Yes.
Yes, correct.
okay. Any questions?
Okay, so I'll start off with making a motion. Board to repeal resolution 062623-32 due to errors in the legal description.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. It's been moved and seconded to repeal resolution number 062623-32 due to errors in legal description. All in favor? Aye.
Well, resign, please. That is. So this would be like 33 probably. Here. Here. Oh, okay, thank you.
Craig's getting afraid of it.
We're just gonna make that up paper templates.
That's what I said.
Oh, no. That's not for me.
That's right, like John.
I had to figure that all night.
You said it. You said it.
I can't repeat it.
But
Like this, he needs friends. I'll go ahead and further move then the board approve resolution 062923 dash something in the future, authorizing improvements at the University Park and Lakeside Heights sewage treatment facility.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 062923. The altered, the number authorizing improvements in the University Park and Lakeside Heights. So, in favor? Aye.
Since this is a critical document, but my name, Barry Carson, John Allen, thank you very much.
Yeah, sure, they do. Excuse me.
I'm sorry about that error, commissioners. I'd like to find a way to blame Craig. We'll find a way.
Well, nothing else. December's just around.
There's another principle that I will mention.
Trust but verify. Trust but verify.
That's, yeah, that was it. Thought I was gonna do what I said. I was gonna do.
Reagan.
Yeah.
You're. Well, it'd be one of them, signatures, but
You know what's USD, but so I think the very Carson needs for the BD2. And that would just say that.
cooking with Starbucks. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the request for proposals for number 2023A for contract providing indigent defense services for other county.
This is the same RFP approved in principle that you last meeting. This one is for your signature. Yes, it's this document that I will need to be published in the newspaper sometime next week. It's a little difficult to get an answer as to when they're actually going to publish this because of the holiday. It could be possibly Wednesday, it's possibly later, possibly Friday. So one of those days, that should go into the, go at least go into the paper for publication. I'll also be taking the same RFP, attaching it to the contract. With every attorney who applies for and then accepted, any that are accepted by the state. Provide those indigent defense and services. You'll see on there that all three of you have approved the contract, approved the terms. Everything in this RFP, all the detail of management is part of the contract. Contracting components. That's important. Because it has some structure in the service that it did. And should enable the board to act quickly if it's not working the way it the terminating individual contracts or terminating all the contracts. And this all presumes that we're going to get up to 6 applications. The way things are, this will employers find all over the country. We may or may not get applications. Just have to see.
Where else do you go?
The Bar Association.
State bars,
No, that would be a waste of time. We need local or regional attorneys. They're going to be available to come in on short notice from here. So we can go to the surrounding communities. That would be okay. But going with attorneys further than that. is counter- And it will also be on the county website. We'll see where it goes.
Is there a timeline on this, like, they need to advise?
30 days.
30 days.
And you have the authority under the RFP. You don't have to wait for instance. You get 6 sterling applicants right away, or 3 sterling applicants with 1 sterling applicant. You can accept that application anytime. So you don't have to wait. Sterling.
Two. Request for proposals, number 2023 dash.
So moved and seconded to request for proposals on number 2023. All in favor? Aye.
No, I did not get copies.
All right.
Let me get them to sign up.
We attach them to the resolution to the University of Art.
Oh, great, we're going to have to repeal it again.
No, you don't have to.
Let's get them to sign up.
We'll get you.
Actions taken. Alright. Next, I have Raleigh County Personnel Action Forms, Kaylee Golderman, a new hire, appraiser 1, personal property and appraiser's office, Clayton Lessner, CRN, EMS ambulance department, separation service, and I do have one added, commissioners. Because she is started on Wednesday, and that's Brittany Phillips, budget and finance officer, effective Wednesday.
That's,
It was not in your package, so it's that.
that's when we hire.
Yep. Yep, she starts Wednesday.
Right in the middle of budget season.
Educated fast. Oh,
You want to make this should be on past 6:30.
we are. The rest of the business.
I think it was kids. I like where. Transponder in your vehicle.
Earlier, you want me to call? Okay. Well, we're going to do our business, rest of our business meeting, we'll catch up to it for right now. It's past 6:30, so we have Lori Darby, that wants to give a presentation to us. Is that, did I pronounce that right? Very good.
Yeah, so I have Lori Roddy with Gene Francis and Associates, real estate brokers and auctioneers, and also owner of Yahoo Roads online insurance. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming to Leonardville. Actually live right outside the city limits. And so several of us here this evening are thrilled to have the opportunity for you to join us. So the reason why I wanted to visit with you this evening is I represent the Flint Hills Association of Realtors. It was a diverse group which makes up of realtors and the affiliates of over 400 members in an 8-county jurisdiction, which includes Riley County. We are concerned with the closing of county offices of 1 day a week, as mentioned on Fridays, which we feel can have an impact on the various services involved in a real estate transaction, which includes title companies, banks, financial institutions, insurance companies, utility companies, surveyors, and other affiliates. While many tasks can be performed electronically, as you well know, we still aren't fully electronic and mostly still paper. It is important to consider the availability and responsiveness of staff members who may not attend to those tasks until the following Monday. The closure of county offices on Fridays may lead to delays in processing necessary paperwork, obtaining approvals, and resolving any issues that may arise during a real estate transaction. These delays could potentially disrupt the timeline of the transaction and cause inconvenience to all parties involved. Processing and closing could be delayed due to the closure, And what about Mother Nature? If a deed is not recorded simply due to the office being closed, could cause an insurance nightmare if there's flooding, tornadoes, high winds and such, and some of the things that you just recently have mentioned in the counties you're from. However, it is important to note that the specific impact of the office closure would depend on the efficiency of electronic systems in place, the willingness of staff to address urgent matters remotely, and the availability of alternative solutions to handle time-sensitive tasks. This could involve finding ways to ensure that critical tasks can be addressed promptly, even on days when the offices are closed efficiently. Collaborative efforts could lead to the implementation of measures like remote access to necessary systems or designated staff members who can handle urgent matters outside regular office hours. By working together, we hope that we could find alternative solutions that balance the need for efficient real estate transactions with the operational requirements of the county offices. When organizations consider change to their hours of operation, they typically take into account various factors, including customer needs, cost effectiveness, and employee well-being. It's important to strike a balance that meets the needs of both the community and the organizations. Closing on Fridays possesses challenges for some individuals or families for personal reasons in daycare and other family already working 5 days per week. As a realtor, it would be extremely challenging not to have a 5-day work week. It is already difficult to schedule meetings to include the county staff, surveyors, public, and ourselves. The reduction of a day for certain departments within the county office would be detrimental to customer service. Regarding cost savings, it is possible that reducing to the 4-day work week can result in operational efficiencies. However, it also becomes very challenging to be able to meet all of those needs with decreased utility expenses, reduced maintenance costs, and potential savings on employee benefits. However, it's essential to evaluate these potential savings against the impact on service delivery and customer satisfaction. In terms of flexibility, different departments within Riley County may have varying needs and considerations. It would be beneficial for the county administration to assess the requirements of each department individually and determine whether implementing different hours of operation based on departmental needs is feasible and beneficial for all stakeholders. Ultimately, the decision-making process regarding hours of operation should involve a comprehensive analysis of the potential benefits, drawbacks, and alternative solutions to ensure the best outcomes for both the community and the employees serving the public. We appreciate that a survey had been drafted. That information, hopefully, most people are starting to see, being a very short survey and being able to answer that quickly with the 2 questions that it addresses. However, it may not give enough information for understanding the reasoning or enough detail to make the best decisions. Again, not all departments are alike, but it should be determined by areas to see what benefits the public, staff, and the county best. Thank you for your time. And if you have any particular questions, you would like to access any additional information that we provide through the Plant Health Association of Realtors or any of our affiliates.
Randy, do you have a question?
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ready to get back to business, commissioners? Next item. Next item I need a motion to approve payroll and accounts payable.
To approve payroll and accounts payable.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve payroll and accounts payable. All in favor?
All 3 sides, please.
Fingers are. Part of the fun.
It's supposed to be an effective and efficient transition.
Yeah. Software.
Here.
I guess.
Oh, yeah. Do have one additional item for business commissioner, is a support letter for the city of Ogden's grant application. Safe streets and roads for all funds. To Secretary Budgetary, the U.S. Department of Transportation.
And I can provide a little background on that. It's gonna be probably a step one of probably several steps to get that, but Riley Avenue, which is the main street there, is or sandwiched in between the state, KDOT, K18. There's the main gate there, which would be federal and Fort Riley. It's in extremely bad shape. It's extremely unsafe at this point in time, particularly for those school children that are traveling from the north side of the city across that particular location to the south side to go to elementary school and then obviously back. So they've been working on several years and trying to figure out some direction, some path forward to get that taken care of. This would be a really, really good step to get the engineering and consulting, all the pre-work done, put together, paid for, and then go after a separate grant, maybe through the Department of Defense. It's a couple of different options there to actually get the dollars to do the actual construction. So it's a two-part thing. This is the first one. We do have support letters from Senator Marshall and Senator Rand's office currently, command staff at Fort Riley, and we were working on several others, including KDOT and some other local organizations, as well as the county, just to get the back. I would make a motion that we approve the support letter for the city of Ogden for the safe streets for all.
Second.
Yes, been moved and seconded to sign a support letter for the city of Ogden. All in favor?
All three sides, please. My bag. Double check.
I don't know what happened.
That's okay.
That was one that I would have sent over the. Yeah, nice.
there any changes to the minutes?
Changes to the minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as written for the June 6th meeting of the Valley County Commission. What's the 26th?
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the June 26th meeting, all in favor?
Tentative agenda's looking okay, commissioners?
I've got one question on the 6th. It is showing. I'm going to consider somewhat of a late budget presentation at this particular point in time. If it was I guess a new organization or one that I'm not fully aware of, I guess that might be one thing. I know all the dynamics here. I don't know that so kind of this late in the process is necessary at this point in time. And it kind of sets a bad precedent.
Yeah, I was saying about that because there were some people last year that didn't make the time and we said you have to wait until next year. So, yeah, I saw that too.
I was emailed by the director of the organization. I said, I'm more than happy to meet with you one-on-one at this point in time and discuss that, but I think it would be in our best interest.
Gone through all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Time's always of the essence. And like I said, it does kind of set a bad precedent.
We can cancel it. Do you also want the appropriation request off of the?
No, you can leave it. We can go through it. That's fine. I think we're all fully aware of it. And I don't want to throw the organization out the bus, but I think we're all pretty in tune with what they do and what they're got and how Raleigh County fits into the equation. So.
Yeah, I think he invited to meet with us individually. I think that I'm planning to do that at some point. So I think we get caught up on what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Consensus commissioners to cancel that one?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
The other thing, I don't see any,
Excuse me?
the other thing on there, I don't see the results of the survey on there now. Is that gonna be done?
Yeah, staff's gonna compile that, they're gonna get a commission agenda report together, and it'll be on the agenda for sure. And they're gonna compile and give the commissioners all the results to review.
That'll be interesting, but not so the next two meetings.
I don't know. They didn't tell
Vivian,
me.
Vivian
worked
sent
on
an
it.
email out. She said that I thought it was the 27th, but then I was looking at the calendar. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
27th.
June 30th tomorrow, no one's working until Wednesday, you gotta go, there's some surveys in small cities that have to be compiled, paper ones, plus it's gonna take a little bit of work to put together. So. Yeah, Sam was gonna get it on the agenda as soon as it right. The information to forward.
Is that going to be in
Commission agenda report. No, the commission agenda, probably complete like work session on this subject.
So in terms of, for lack of a better term, individual surveys, she indicated, obviously, we're not going to read all those in public or publicize those, and I get all that, but we want to specifically see those.
You will get those.
We will get those. Okay.
You will get all the individuals. Yep, absolutely. I do know that much. I do not know when it will happen on the agenda. I've had to be a week or two after.
Well, I started at 10 of it, so that's why I said I didn't see it. I skipped that.
I would also,
4 weeks. We can, that's.
that's fine if we do, when we do, or whatever date that lands on. I would prefer that we put that on the agenda at the back.
Last item.
Yeah, not the first or in the middle of it, yeah, in the middle of
We could, right?
Yeah. So,
Yep,
make that the last item on that date.
and so you know, I am added on to the end of the tentative agenda from here to July 20th, we get the budget done. So hope to have it, the auditors by around the 10th of July, you gotta have it, you guys, if you're gonna exceed revenue neutral, right? Department like your presentation, but we have to have it done by July 20th, so.
Just that part of it.
Not serious.
Well, and we don't have to have anything for publication just yet either, right?
Yeah, we will then. Yeah. Right. Yeah, state law, you can always cut, you cannot increase it. That's state law with all public and budget process. Good Morning Manhattan coming up. If you all want to attend,
What is that?
July 20th. Lansing. And one small item budgetarily speaking, of kind of I know is signing off on appropriation payments that we have. The animal shelter was on there
Oh, yeah.
for 30,000 to pay for the second half of this year. Want to be sure the commissioners want to be paid that second half this year. But we previously budgeted and approved, but just want to bring it up.
We have to.
We had told
Since they are
we had
providing.
you know, despite
Yeah, I
the
just,
first wasn't true, but
after you saw the check go through, I did one question why we paid it.
We budgeted that with the intent in mind to pay that for research.
Sounds good. It's time for Director Pete.
Evening, Madam Chair, county commissioners, county clerk, Clancy. I've got to start with that. Brian and members of the public, Brian, Riley County Police Department, with me Sergeant Deputy, who was in charge of the patrols for the Morning County areas. Just hitting on a few of the topics, what I'd like to talk about are the budget, the instances surrounding the recent arrest in relation to fentanyl. Again, regurgitate the statistics that I provided to the commission last time, discuss staffing levels, and then looking at things like where I'll be at the next couple of months, and then looking at and then again talking about training that we have coming up in the next 2 weeks, and so throughout that start to help me out in the discussion. So from the budget, what was recently passed throughout the law board was we're looking at the total budget that was passed was $26,937,092. Using carryover from the previous years, what was left over from the previous year's budget of $256,633. That equates to a realized budget of $26,680,559. And so that increase is a 7.52%. But again, when you take that carryover out, then it reduces down to a 6.50. And that's an increase of roughly a little over 1.8 million from the previous budget. RCPD is going to use that increase to and apply that to personnel or to investments in personnel. So we're going to look at we're going to a 6.5% increase in the cost of living for all of our staff across the board, and then we're going to use another portion of the monies to implement a second half of the salary survey that was conducted by the Army a few years back. That's going to mean that the county is responsible for a little over 5.3 billion to the budget. And if I remember correctly, Russell in the back said when I asked him if I could have some of this money, he laughed at me, but he didn't say no.
That makes rural folks really feel kind of.
That's why he laughed at me. I didn't see him reach for his knife though. So again, regurgitating some of the statistics, our Part 1 crime overall for the last quarter was roughly 8% below the 5-year average as compared to May of which was a 6.5% decrease. Our Part 1 violent crime was above the 5-year average, and the Part 1 property crime was below the 5-year average. The majority of these averages are as a result of activity inside of Manhattan rather than within the county. May 2023, we had a 9% above the 5-year average Department of Violent Crime. There were 13 aggravated assaults, batteries, 3 rapes, 1 robbery, 0 homicides reported during the month of May 2023. There was 1 robbery reported in May 2023, which was 44% below the 5-year average. That case is still active as of earlier this month. There were 6 aggravated assaults and 7 aggravated batteries reported during the month of May. This is a 22.6% increase above the 5-year average. 7 of these instances were domestic related, and that equates to 13 instances that we've had throughout that last quarter. And as of the 12th of this month, there were 6 arrests made for those instances. For May, Part 1 property crime was down roughly 11% from the 5-year average compared to May of last year. It was a 6.7% decrease. The property crime for May of 2023 included 11 structural burglaries, 12 larcenies with motor vehicles, 5 auto thefts, 0 arsons. The rest of the larcenies were 56%. Again, like vehicles, what we're seeing is again, folks have left their cars unsecured. That's not the fault of the people who have left their cars and had trust in their fellow citizens. That's of course, the fault of the individuals who chose to go in with their vehicles, which to steal. Structural burglaries were 9% above the 5-year average. For May, there were 7 residential, 5 non-residential burglaries. There were 0 burglaries in Ogden, 1 in the North County, 1 in the South County, and 10 in Manhattan. In May of 2023, we were 5.5% below the 5-year average of vehicle burglaries. 11 of the incidences, there were no signs of forced injuries in the report. Motor vehicle deaths were up roughly almost 4% from the 5-year average of May of this time last year. Of May. 4 of the vehicles have been recovered as of the 12th of this month. One of those incidents was an attempted vehicle theft. And with DUIs, the number of DUIs for May 2023 was almost 50% above the 5-year average. Again, keeping in mind that we were looking at graduation times from the high school to college and everything like that. So with that, to briefly talk about the arrest with fentanyl. So over the last few years, it's been no secret that all the communities within the country and within the state, and we're not immune to it here in Riley County, have been affected by fentanyl. It used to be seen in heroin, and now you're seeing it pretty much in everything, even in marijuana. So that's resulting in a lot of overdoses. In some cases, there may be instances that folks who have access to things like Narcan to help them with overdoses. So we may not be getting a full report of people who may be suffering from addiction and or overdose. But we've seen a lot of them, and there have been several deaths attributed to those overdoses. So the department had joined in or had been investigating these instances in conjunction with the FBI, the DEA, and the Kansas Highway Patrol. And yesterday we did a press release talking about several individuals, multiple individuals that were arrested as a result of a lot of hard work, and just a lot of diligence and a lot of work from the community. So we're extremely proud of that. The thing is, we want to make sure we push the One Pill Can Kill campaign, but to us within the department, even if we get somebody with one pill, that's one opportunity somebody's life saved. That's one opportunity that one family is spared all of the ripple effects, the negative ripple effects that come with narcotics use and sales. So with that, I'd like to ask our TD if there anything that you want to mention before I continue moving on.
Thank you. Just a couple things I wanted to give everybody an update on North County specific items. Number one, we have a new officer, new to North County officer. That'll be starting on Monday. This Officer Jesse Shane. We have one rotating out, rotating in. So we're very excited to have him along with us. Our county officers are going to be attending numerous events. It's kind of the event season. So starting with the celebration in Randolph on Saturday, RCPD will be represented, and hopefully they'll allow us to lead the parade. Maybe even bring up the ribbon. Then followed by the upcoming fair, Raleigh County Fairgrounds. We're excited to be a part of that. And then Hullabaloo, which will be right here in Frederickville in August. So we're very excited about those upcoming events. One thing, as far as the director was talking about statistics, one thing that we have noticed countywide accidents, especially along the corridor on Tulare Creek Boulevard. I'm concerned right now about specifically the 4-mile corner. We are paying closer attention to that. I don't want anyone to wind up a statistic So please, those of you who are driving that on a daily basis, look twice. Take your time. That road is heavily traveled. The likelihood of an accident is much greater than that of other roads, just due to the sheer volume. So there have been an uptick in accidents. We are patrolling that as best we can. I will say this to those who are driving on a daily basis, that if there is a speeder that's coming past us, a lot of times there's 5, 6, 7, 8 vehicles behind them. And I'm telling my guys, I don't want you to risk turning around and causing an accident just to catch a guy that's going, 10, 11 miles an hour over the speed limit. When we can, we will, and we will take enforcement action. But we're trying to keep everyone as safe as possible, trying not to have folks become a statistic. And the best way I know how to do that is to come to meetings like this and have enforcement going out on the highway. So one thing that I've noticed, and I've only been in uniform up here for a short period of time, I'm trying to meet with community stakeholders. I'm trying to stop and talk to people as much as I can. We want to know what's on your mind. We want to know how we up here can improve the quality of life for everyone up here. So I'd love to hear from you. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Then just a couple more items so the county can get on with this business. Our staffing levels within our administration were fine. On the sworn side of patrol officers and investigations, we're doing fine there. That we're almost near our full allotment of sworn officers, but we're always dealing with one officer, someone retiring, or someone potentially looking to go to another department. But I'm very comfortable with where we're at right now. And there's always strong interest in coming to RCPD. Where we're having issues is our corrections. We're looking at being roughly, including medical leave, we're roughly down 16 in corrections. Good news is we put on a very focused hiring. And right now, then we open the job position open specifically for corrections. The applications in on Friday. So if anyone in here is interested or knows anyone who wants to be part of a great organization that's very much in the fellowship, it's pretty core. Turn them on to the correction section of the county department. Not that again, not the county can mess. You know, I don't hear me. You beat me up the first meeting. I'm serious. So I just want to say that. But we, as of yesterday, I'm sorry, as the day before yesterday, we have 41 applicants for the position of corrections, and because we have a brand new recruiting team that's targeting, we're looking at people who have corrections experience or people who are in the service-related industry. So we're looking for folks who know what they're getting into. And when they get there, they're gonna hopefully stick it out a lot longer than other people that we've hired before. So we're talking to people and again, in that service-related industry to include nurses, which is extraordinarily exciting to me. So I have high hopes that we're going to bring that staff up and bring our morale up. And then again, in 2 weeks, our partnership with our county SMEs and brothers and sisters, as well as with Manhattan, we are going to be doing active shooter training. Something that none of us want to do, but something all of us know we must be prepared for. And then now that the budget process is over, I will actually be in the North County a lot more often. So the folks in this room, folks out there on the street, you see a real ugly guy in a black car driving around, you know what it is, it's me. I will stop, get out, say hello, introduce myself, and do everything I can to make sure I'm accessible, and approachable to everybody in this community, because I am a servant. And other than that, thank you all very much for your time. Yes, sir.
Talk about CIT training coming up.
Yes, we do have CIT training coming up. The Riley County Police Department is hosting CIT training. I think it's for statewide training. And really, again, looking forward to a CIT stands for Crisis Intervention Team. And it's what it is bringing together mental health professionals, EMS, fire department, dispatchers, law enforcement, and learning what mental illness looks like when we respond to it. So as you're coming to a scene, it's not just, hey, this person's a threat to me, this person's dangerous, I need to be up at level 10. It's recognizing that this person's going through mental health crisis. And I don't need to be at level 10. If anything's de-escalating, I need to come down here. And that's what the training pretty much instills, and it's a partnership of how do we get people who have mental health crisis and otherwise no resources to the resources they need for them and their family. Prison, jail is no place for somebody who's suffering from illness. We don't want to exacerbate the problem. We want to help.
Chief, I got a question. Is there anywhere on the internet where we can go and look who the North County officers are, maybe a bio on them, what shift they work, so we know who they are, or I know it switches out. I mean, I know a lot of North County officers work up here for a while. The new guys, I've never heard of that officer before. I don't know anything about him. It looks like. Okay, is that an option? Do something like.
Mike, I'll look into that. I don't know that we have anything on our website currently. But I think it's an outstanding suggestion. Yeah, that's great.
You might get it or put something out on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. I guess lastly, for me, speaking of traffic enforcement, traffic enforcement Tuesday morning over in Eureka Drive, at Wildcat Creek. I'm appreciative of that. I work out there and people fly down there as a drag strip, passing 3-4 cars at once. More than 7 people got very large parking tickets. You'd be glad to know that they're not blaming you, they're actually blaming me, because I didn't give them a heads up about it in advance, like I knew about it, which I didn't, but try to tell them that, but they're not believing that. So you guys are up to, it's on me. When I'm told I should pay their parking ticket, I said, well, you can leave it on my desk, but you're probably gonna get another call, and if you get pulled over next time, you'll be really surprised. Did point out that if you did speed, if you didn't drive recklessly, and this would include everybody in the county, there'd be no need to get a heads up, and there would be no need for traffic enforcement to start. We could focus on everything else. I just wanted to throw that.
That's true. And the CYA side of me is hearing. I can write more tickets and I can yell at it. Just wanted to give you a question.
It's gonna happen anyway, so yeah.
There is one thing there. That's a blank check.
I know that.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It is time for a wrestle.
Together, actually, Lori put together a chart to talk about stir and storm water. And a new product, SIRT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. And she is planning on doing a SIRT training in Riley this fall. They haven't set dates and times yet for sure. But that was one of the things I was going to talk about to promote interest in that CERT class. And for those that don't know, CERT is a ready force of organized and trained volunteer disaster workers that operates at neighborhood level. CERT volunteers are trained to help communities mitigate disasters in the first few minutes and up to 72 hours following disaster with damaged roads, disrupted communications, high call volume, etc. They restrict access by local police, fire, and emergency medical response. The hands-on training program is taught by trained emergency professionals. Consists of disaster preparedness, disaster fire suppression, disaster medical operations, night search and rescue operations, team organization, disasters involved with terrorism awareness, and work review and disaster simulation techniques. Riley County Emergency Management is scheduling a CERT class for the fall and the city of Riley. Class will be conducted tentatively. It's looking to be conducted on one Friday evening and 2 Saturdays. All 3 times will be required to complete the training. And if you're interested in attending the CERT class, you can email Lori Harris That's L Harrison at RileyCountyKS.gov, or you can call the office at 785-537-6333. And she'll put anybody that's interested on a interest list and let you know when the class times are set. I just have any questions about certain. So the other group that we are in dire need of volunteers for is the Skywarn team for the storm spotters. The Riley County Skywarn team is a volunteer organization that trains severe weather spotters who use amateur radio as the primary method of communication. The Skywarn volunteers are an integral part of the early warning system. Riley County Emergency Management and the National Weather Service use technology and information from Skywarn volunteers to help provide communities with advanced warning of impending hazardous weather and provide the real-time ground truth required to appropriately respond to these threats. Currently, we have about 10 to 15 people on our roster, but in reality, there's only about 3 or 4, maybe 5 that actually come out and do any sorts of things. So one thing we fell back to is if we have an area that we're concerned with, that we don't have any storm spotters out at, we'll call out one at the fire station. Part of go out the street spot. But ideally, we would like to have the Skywell team, we are putting for a grant to beef up their amateur radio system and move a couple of their repeaters that they currently have in low areas and put them onto one of our county towers. Possibly that's a little over $20,000. So there is a grant through the state, LSSC grant, and then the California SH. We applied for a grant to move somewhere to give them better range, to give them better coverage in Mid and North County currently use. But if anybody is interested in being a storm spotter and joining the warranty, again, call Lori, email Lori. You can get to her through the county website or email her directly to Lori Harrison at RileyCountyKS.gov or call the office at 785-537-6333 and let her know you're interested in being the warranty team. Any questions on that?
Any possibility of another radio system, just in general hardware infrastructure stuff that is very expensive. Any way of doing that for virtual needs through cable?
There's some talk about that, and that's on the very fringe of my radio, the radio and guys at the low end. So I can't probably speak intelligently about that specific.
I have never Skyward in the past, but it's not. But radios are expensive. I think that's part of the reason why you're not finding the people in person that would be able to do that. So you're thinking about some creative means to do that through the board, but it is the board.
Right. And if anybody has any ideas on how to increase recruitment on that, we're all here. But I'll talk to you. So on the fire side of it, this is our current station roster. And as you can see, some stations have more members than others. Our lowest station, I believe, is Mayday, which is the next station north of Hunterville. We only have 3 people on the Mayday station, which are many people living in Mayday, so that stands to reason. But most of the North County stations, I think Randolph is our highest at 9. Riley's our next highest, and the Leonardville's at 7, and Sweet Creek's at 6. So, and there again, as I kind of said on the Skyward, and as I've said in previous presentations, probably 20% of the people make 80% of the cost. So of any given station that has whatever, maybe whether it's 6 or 8 people. Typically, not always, typically there's 2 or 3 people that are carrying most of the load.
And the other 2 or 3 that are there occasionally or operate. You know, ideally, we would really like to get these stations up to at least 10 or 12 people, if not 15 or 17. But again, we gotta have volunteers to do that. We have a training program. There have been some staff changes in some stations that had some staff issues, and so there is some new blood in the leadership in some of the stations. So anybody that has thought about joining in the past and has been held back by maybe some other personnel that was already there that they didn't think they could work with, come check us out again. There have been some changes, so we encourage if you have somebody that you think would be interested or you're interested yourself, you know, we're looking for volunteers. You know, it's becoming more and more frequent that when we have a fire call and that fire call, car wreck, rescue type call comes in, we have to start calling more and more stations to go to a call that 1 or 2 stations should be able to handle. Because those 1 or 2 stations were turning out 1 or 2 people. Where if that station was turning out 5 or 6 people and a couple of trucks, they'd be able to handle it by themselves. But instead, we're going to be known out anywhere from 3 or 4 to 6 or 7 stations. To handle a call that should really only take a couple of stations to handle because we're just so short staffed. Again, anybody that's interested in the county website, there's a join the fire department link on the fire department page on the website. Fill out an application right online and make sure there's supposed to be electronic. Take the application, review it, do an interview. You know, outside of Manhattan, we come up to Leonardville, come up to Randolph, come up to wherever we need to do the interview with the station officers and go from there. So, anybody have any questions?
Very well. So,
Stuff others on city council, anybody else getting updates. They're new here.
I have his phone number.
He just lives.
Until 7:30, unless you want to move it up. There. I got to get temporary.
Take the opportunity to get this up here done.
Won't take you long, not much longer, right?
So thanks, I'm gonna help you out, lay something on Craig. So I had to meet Craig at 5:30 up here, so my paperwork is sitting on my desk, so that's correct.
I don't quite get that one, but.
I have a copy of the design sketch.
I'm trying to help Nancy out.
Thanks. You've done something illegal, haven't you?
No,
We're gonna have to fire yourself for later.
no problem. He just doesn't know it yet.
That's why it's pretty nice.
Right.
It's not my nature, it's nice.
It's in the red flag immediately for me.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Wayland covers it. Okay, so that's good. So you want to go ahead, that's fine.
Good evening, Commissioners. David Adams, EMS ambulance director with a building update. So as I put it in the packet here for you to see, as I mentioned here a couple of weeks ago when I did the update, we're compiling the numbers because right now Public Works pays part of the bills. Finance office pays part of the bills, and then they compile them at the end, and it's hard for me to keep track. So Rich has just made the executive decision, which was a smart one, to have everything kind of just go through finance all at once. So so that's why you're seeing some numbers that are a little bit more inflated than what you've seen in the past, because also I've been giving you the building numbers. So versus the other total costs, such as the equipment for North County, so that we had to purchase and some of that. So, but I kind of explained it in there. If you have any questions about that. And then the 87,685 from Schultz, that's what I told you in my last update that was coming. That was, we just received those invoices, but they hadn't paid yet. So they have since been paid. So that's why that's in there. But I wanted to point that out to you. So you didn't get confused as to, you know, we talked about it, but now it's here just because it's all about timing. So the North County station, as you drove by and saw it, the exterior walls are framed, the trusses have been set. The exterior walls are, for the most part, boxed in. They're still waiting on a couple little things, but they've done what they can up to this point. So it's moving along very well. Commissioner McKinney, myself, and John, that we had a pre-scheduled meeting with the architect with Schultz Construction yesterday. So it was a good productive meeting. It's hot, but productive meeting. They kind of answered some questions. The builders had some questions for the architects, as they typically do in something like that. You know, hey, what were you meeting here as we're coming up to this? And that was a very productive meeting. Went well. And then I'll get to something that we have coming up that we need to bring to your attention to kind of work through. So but upcoming, the roof decking, they just started it this evening, putting that on. So they should have a good portion of that done tomorrow, I believe. That's what was on their plan. The exterior boxing should be about that. And then next coming up will be windows and doors, as well as some of the rough end, the plumbing, the electrical, HVAC. So those will really kick off next week. So they'll be working Monday, they're off Tuesday, and then they'll be back at it on Wednesday. So they are right on schedule. So they're moving pretty quickly along. So and then you see the costs right there, as I just mentioned. So one of the something to bring to your attention that we're going to have to kind of work through. I talked with Rich today, got some good ideas, good talk with him. They're having trouble with the alley that where those trees need to be cleared. There's some pretty big trees in there. We had a conversation yesterday. I think it's JR, correct? The city worker, and he's doing his best. RJ. Okay. Yeah, I was close. Had the right letters. But he's going to have a hard time with some of the work, getting some of the tree roots and the stumps and those things out. So we met yesterday, we talked through it. We did reach out today. I did reach out to Wildcat Tree Service to see about getting us an estimate to get those cleared out. It is a little bit time sensitive because the concrete company has this slated on their schedule. And if we don't meet that schedule, then that's going to be pushed back until towards the end of the project. So, but The city of Leonardville, I mean, they just don't have the equipment to do this. I mean, that's just not what they do. So, but I will meet with Bobcat Tree tomorrow morning, we'll get an estimate, and then we can bring forward and we can have a discussion with the city and yes, I can see how we want to proceed with that, but because that alleyway is gonna be paved, so they can't just dig out the tree and grind down the stumps. They've got to get the roots and everything out, because as they decay, then it'll start to sink. So they were very clear yesterday that this, we got to get moving on this, and it's got to be done to a certain standard. So once we have something more, I'll come back to you and we'll talk through it and see how you'd like us to proceed. So, questions on that? That's for you to discuss. Oh, so, but we have some questions about the easement, the temporary easement. One of the things we are going to have to look at is that alleyway is 16 feet wide, which is about what we need. So we may have to discuss with the homeowner that is to the west of our location, that where we're having to clear some trees out of their land, is to do a little bit of a temporary easement so that when they put in the road for us, we may have to go onto their property so that they can form out the road. So they can do the work to prepare the road. So there's no room to give there at all. So but that's something that Craig and I discussed this evening is what are we gonna do? We can't move the driveway. Because of the platting and there's a water main there and several other things. So this is the area we have to work within. So but we have to look at a temporary easement of a couple feet so that they can do what they need to put in and drive. So and again, there'll be more to discuss on that as we get a little closer. So
What's the time frame on getting that done? There's a legal statutory and
right,
process.
I'm gonna defer to
We just don't click our heels together and that one happens.
right. I'm gonna defer that to Craig.
We're just gonna have to negotiate temporary easement that property. And at this point in time, I can't tell you what kind of negotiations that would be. We need to start immediately. And I'm gonna check with David and get some input from the concrete company as what they need, the space, and the amount of that they would have to trust the owner and typically you pay for a temporary, but you still have to negotiate what that cost is going to be.
This is gonna have to be done quickly because apparently it's like mid-July. It's like some kind of deadline for the concrete company.
Yeah, if they don't get there, they got another job coming up, we'll get pushed back like you said.
Yeah, so, and if they're gonna go ahead, I believe, and come and do the concrete work on the front of the building, because it was all supposed to be done at once, the front and the back. But if they have to, then they'll come do the front and then get the back done, so they'll get as much done as they can.
They don't have
We'll get as much done as we can.
Right,
We don't have
right, no, absolutely,
we don't have this issue on the south side because the city owns those lots, so they can give us permission to whatever space we need to do the framing on that side, but it's gonna be the location of the property and we need to get a temporary.
So hypothetically speaking, what if they doesn't want to do that?
Your only option then is to take it.
Yeah.
And you have to pay for that. The ugly word,
Yeah.
I know. It'd be just like widening the road.
I just wanted it to be out.
I'm not advocating that. I'm just telling you, that's what the other option is. That's it.
But kind of the counterpart to that is, usually for a price, okay, so that way is you get it temporary, so.
It's pretty typical construction project. It just depends on how.
Yeah. You may demand it.
Maybe they'll donate. It is possible. People do.
There has to be a building, but it has to be a mess station right next to it.
We'll get on that right away. I mean, literally start tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, this came about yesterday afternoon. So,
Temporary easement would be for how long?
For the time needed to put the driveway.
Or what, just for that?
Yeah.
Forms for the concrete.
Temporary just means that it's kind of durational.
Okay.
Once it's done, then the easement goes away but typically you have to pay for that because you're using somebody else's property for a certain period of time.
Isn't there also some material that needs to be cleared away on the property?
There'll be some additional trees. Yeah.
Well,
Really underbrush, I should say.
yeah, there's some trees, there's some trees and some underbrush, so big trees.
Then the right away.
Sure.
And the big trees are actually in the line, there's gonna be some underbrush on the fairway to have the temporary to get in there to do the forms.
I'm not concerned that was not picked up on the process. Figure out where to put that in, where it is, where it might be.
Yeah, what was picked up on the process was this is where it needs to be, where the drive needs to be. But what wasn't picked up was the temporary easement.
Well, we're looking for getting the trees out.
Or the difficulty getting the trees out.
Yeah, trees I can understand, but I know you. Design and consultant and engineering those things, you should know where it lands and whose property it's landing on, whether it's private, whether it's city,
That
whether
was
it's.
discussed. That was out there.
Talking future reference, this won't be the last project. Likely. Yeah.
Okay, for the headquarters building, and as you were aware, I think in my last update, we were getting ready to meet. So we met with our images, VHS, and chemical engineers on June 22nd. We discussed various topics to include, but not limited to, the exterior design, signage, and finish. The door locking systems, fire protection, the HVAC systems, and how what that is going to entail, and then IT needs. So Corey and Chris from IT were there and gave a lot of good input on what they were needing in the IT rooms, but as far as servers and racks and things. So once we get the synopsis from that meeting, then we'll bring that back forward. So that they've taken that information back and it's in the map, so mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So we have a meeting coming up here in a couple of weeks, July 10th. It's what I think is off the top of my head. So that is for interior. I'm working some of the interior stuff, some other components and things. So, and then once we get done with that, we'll bring that back as well. So. What's upcoming, as I said, the interior related to the interior design, planning and zoning review. So starting to work on that, the ARC images and the city of Manhattan. So what we need to do there. And then end of October, the CMAR budget updates and budget. So we have had no discussions on that since our last time in front of the BOCC, but having these meetings, putting that together, we'll be able to bring something back to you. And then as requested, this is the most up-to-date headquarters design schedule. And then they have broken it down. There's the remodel project on there as well. So don't confuse one with the other. So, but they have a potential still construction starting at the new building in January of 2024. The other big date in there to remember was the look at subcontractor bidding right after Thanksgiving. So.
the completion estimate on the first building. It's easy to put for the remodel, but you obviously have to move out of the current location to do that.
So the last date that we've been given from DHS was 12-month bill.
For next year, basically.
20, be January 25. Since they're gonna start this January with 24. Okay. I'd love it to be next year.
That's just the downsize in the building. You shouldn't be able to. You should be able to. You know. That's why.
$12 million.
It is, you know. I thought of it that way. Yeah.
It was almost 21, so it would have been closer to $2 million.
Yeah, I don't want, it's too soon. Do you have any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, we're done. We're not here.
No, I get motion to
No, go ahead.
really okay for that.
Okay.
So,
Take me break. Screen the next one. Beat that. It's a little bigger, still hard to read. Anyway, commissioners, this is, as you know, what I call the first edition of the 2024 proposed budget. And as it says on the document, proposed budget. As all you commissioners have been through this process, this is simply all of the budgets, the request and appropriation requests you have received prior to this point from all your county departments, all outside agencies, and including the RCPD budget that was just approved this week. So we couldn't have gotten this to you in finality in its final form as it is right now, as proposed until about now, because we just received notice from RCPD this week. So as commissioners know, who knows, we may go through 8 to 10 different renditions of this. This is just worst case scenario based on what has been presented to you. It's on the packet as for action. There's no action expected today. Don't really expect the commissioners to hopefully finally give some approval for a budget until around July 10th. I think all we have to have it completely finalized by July 20th. July 10th, I say, because we like to get it to the auditor review prior to us having to have it completed if we are to exceed their or not. So you can see all the respective departmental budgets. All I really wanted to do accomplish today, Commissioner, just give you a brief overview of this budget and to give it to you so you can look at it over the weekend. We will have a much more detailed, much more lengthy discussion next Thursday on the budget when I'll go through in detail some of the details of the budgets on the appropriations in detail, county bond and interest, county building and RCPD, capital improvements, economic development. Those are some of the large ones. And then another one of the large ones, cost of COLA. The commissioners at, you see the cost of COLA, that top block is at 1.6. That is at 8% as per the county policy of the annualized COLA amount. That is just where we start every year. It has not been approved. You do need to know that within each departmental budget, the step is included for all personnel. Now, that is no guarantee that all personnel get step because that's based on a successful evaluation by their department.
But you're saying Alex will then July 10th.
We would like to. We would like to.
Two meetings from now, it's July 10th.
Could be that way. I have had many special budget sessions, commissioners, on non-commission days. Yeah, we have had many budget sessions on non-commission days in the past.
Bottom bottom half. First, below the department that says percentage change of 3C to minus 29%. What the heck is that here? What is that? That isn't, the 3Cs are up 21%.
Now this one, let me look on the commissioners, see if meeting up, so they cannot look at that. It's probably because you have to remember, COLA.
Now that's not where that 3Cs. It's all the 3Cs are plus equal way.
15, 19. Yeah, we'll have to look at that. So, but you can see the dollars there. It's not like it's trying to be, you can see the dollar number there.
I say,
We'll look
at the number, it's up.
Yeah, yeah, you can see the numbers there on the 3Cs is 19,248 as proposed for this year and 15,9 and the actual for 22 were 12,393. That's what you have to remember about the far left column. Those are actually audited actuals, so that isn't budget. So that is the difference on this one, and that's what we always try to do. I think it's beneficial to see what the actuals were as opposed to the budget for 22 if we have them, and we do have them. The audit is not completed, but the rough draft work is, so that's based on it. Any other questions on that first section?
Yeah, on the outside agency appropriations.
Oh, that next one down.
What's on the first
Uh-huh.
page recently.
Yeah,
We missed 2 budget appropriations. Sunflower Children's Initiative, or whatever they're called. And departments.
those are new ones.
Those, yes.
Yeah, the department heads was 30 something.
I don't remember the number, I just know they presented to us. We typically add all of those in. Be able.
Yeah. We'll put it in there, and of course, none of these are approved until you commissioners approve them.
But when we have that meeting, it'd be good to have.
Yep, we have that. That won't be a problem. Not be a problem. Another new one is the VA, that's why it's highlighted there in the green. So if you go all the way down in economic development down lower on these in your packet, you can see 2 new ones in economic development as well. They're highlighted in the green. That way they're easy to see. We can get to that point. Anything else on that first page? Check that percentage, Commissioner.
I would mention too, that one of the other obvious items that are missing out of here is new or expanding personnel.
Yes, that'll be,
After- right.
that'll be part of a separate presentation on Thursday. So the commissioners know, the commissioners were presented earlier in the year, several departments that had requests for new positions. None of those numbers are in here. In the departmental or otherwise. So they haven't been added. Unlike new appropriation.
They do want to ask on that one, that is represented to us, that we get numbers of estimated salaries, we can get it down to what the potential percentage of benefits are at that number as well.
Okay, anything else on that, commissioners?
Are you on the project? You're the project, you're on the project.
No, he was talking about the new personnel. He
Oh,
talked about
okay.
salary separate and be sure benefits are included. And benefits costs for each position and in total.
Correct.
Yep. Anything else on that, Commissioner? What was that?
Still on the first page.
Yeah, I'm still on the first page.
Yeah, that's like.
Yeah, that's the second one. I've got another question.
Do you have anything on the first page before we get to the second one, Commissioners? Okay, second one.
That's the middle of everyone, right? Second page.
Yes.
Okay.
You can see the revenues, budgeted revenues, that top little box. Those are numbers that we get from the treasurer. She's the one who gives us the estimated revenues for the budget. Then you see the rest of the fees in the next section, unencumbered cash balance in general, of course, which is the largest. And then all of those three other levy funds anticipated unencumbered cash balance. You'll see RCPD, commissioners, RCPD will be a topic next Thursday as well. The budget line item on the first page, but we've got its unencumbered beginning balance in 2024 at 0. Due to building costs and due to inmate costs, I'm betting I will have to come to you and ask you to transfer money from general to RCPD because the costs are so high. So just so you're aware, that's why that is 0 now. I think the budget for 2023 will not cover if inmate expenditures and building expenses continue at the rate they are. That would be the same with the building fund, which is another good one to discuss, Commissioner. That's why it's so low. I may have to do the same thing on that as well. John Keller manages that. Talk to him if he has his. There's average spending $36,333.33 a month for the first 6 months. If that continues, they will go tilt. So him and I have had that discussion. He thinks he can manage it, but if not, it'd be another one I would come to you and ask for the transfer out of the general fund. Just those two funds there, commissioners, truly tell you that costs have gone up on everything. I know you don't like the looks of this budget first blush. I've gone through the general, which is the department in the general fund. All costs are going up. And I know we know that just from what we've seen on our one order building. Even all the commissioners I know were surprised at the cost of the building here in Leonardville. And you got that initial cost. So I know we do not like seeing a higher budget, but costs are up.
Some of this is the reason my costs are up too, so you have to balance that with the
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That Commissioner McKinney,
You know, on that highlighted part that says the budget last year is 48. The front page listed 45, 747.
I wish I could get the point of your Commissioner. I think that
45 to
4, it said 45, 487. Oh, I can get that.
35, 747 is on the front page. And the other number, the 52 number matches to the place that the total.
This is for the 2024. Yeah, I'm just right. I know that way when I can't get the formulas, I know what I'm looking for, Commissioner.
Yeah, that's
That's an quicker if I have. I get the formulas rather write it down. Okay, so you were talking about the 2023 budget, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was looking at that.
24 carry.
Yeah.
So it's saying that
Yeah, gotcha.
23.
Yeah, I see it now.
$1 million difference.
Yeah, I see that now. Let me get you that. Yeah, that's the benefit of getting that before you today. That way we can have all those questions answered at least to speed up the process next Thursday. What other questions?
This is back, you know.
No problem. First page.
You know, but line 12. They got an asterisk next to it for some reason. Those numbers aren't anywhere close to anything that were the budget presentation that we got.
Well, I see it on general services.
I looked up first, you know, services.
Yeah, I'm sure they are not, as,
I know you said they were final, some of the numbers are a little bit, that one's wild.
as you know, commissioners, due to, the situation we were in, that's what we've been going through the numbers frantically for the last, week. And to correct errors that we knew were there, so we will, and that's, part of my presentation on Thursday is the detailed presentation of general services, that line item in particular. And then, like I said, levy funds, bond and interest, building, RCPD, capital improvements, economic development. So you will see in there exactly, because I will have the form there that I'll present to you that has the 2022 actuals, 2023 budgeted and 2024 budgeted to show the differences. And I know of one right off the top of my head, 350,000 in contractual services that we budgeted this year that was not budgeted last year. And that's because we had a 2022 storm. Remember all the wind damage? We paid 358,000 out of that line item. Didn't have anything budgeted, so we budgeted 350,000 this year in case we have to have that type of expenditure again. So yeah, it has significantly changed. As due to the situation, you're well aware we were in it, so that's why we've gone through and cleaned up a lot of that. Like I said, there's a lot of those costs. The general services pays a lot of the overall bills for just the county as a whole. And a lot of those have gone up. You'll be able to see that reflected in 2022 actuals, because some of the 2022 actuals are more than what we budgeted for this year. That's what one of the reasons I'm concerned as with RCPD and county building the budgets this year. They're going to be closely watched at the end of the year and will probably amend it. Was that not?
We've done that before, so that's not new.
Yeah, I
It's just
just,
the dollar amount that you have to deal with.
it just is unreal the last couple of years. What cost of them. Definitely real. Good information on there, commissioners. Of course, as we know, due to the revenue neutral rate, the new law that we have to comply with and send out those notices, as you can see. Given the value of the mill, 792,000 on the second page, here, commissioners, on the right hand side, 792,782 is the amount of tax dollars one mill generates. You can see the ad valorem tax required is 34,723,285 required for what is proposed. Of course, we know this is not the final budget. So to get there, that would take 43.799 mils, which is 1.588 mils higher than last year. But that's due to an increased valuation that we know that was at 9.98. So that's what helped us get those additional dollars. That little section down below there, commissioners, that there tells you the revenue neutral rate as far as tax dollars is 30,426,513. So in mills, we are 5.42 higher than what we would be required if we were going to forego exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And you can see that it also generates an additional $4,296,000 and $4,296,772. So that is how much the commissioners would need to cut if you wanted to not exceed the revenue neutral rate. And of course, that doesn't get you to a flat mill, that would get you to a much lower mill than 42.211 we get last year. So I think there's a lot of valuable information to look at there and digest, and the questions that were brought up by the commission, I'll have the answers for you on those by Thursday. But I've already got it on the agenda, and there we're going to go in detail on all of those funds that I discussed in that general services department line in detail. Discuss. Yeah, and another thing in that Commissioner McKinney on line 12, the general service, which under the commissioners report now. What was directly to increase that significantly too is that additional money that we just put into the budget stabilization line. So that just that line item.
The numbers a whole lot less than the first one.
Oh, Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's,
It was seven, it was a million more,
I'll pull it up, oh, I like it.
and last year's number was different than this. None of those numbers were those.
Yeah, we've added to those two line items quite a bit. And well, and also remember, I'll bet if you're talking about $7 million, that's where we had some of the federal funds that's been moved out of there. It's all in the disaster fund now. Have that 14.1 million we have left from the fund we're gonna be using for the EMS facility. We took that out of the general fund. And then, as you know, the 2 million left over in CARES as well. It was presented to you last week. That's what I don't like about when you get those one-time monies and you put them in with the general budget, it skews the comparison from the previous year, you know, it makes it more difficult to track, and that's why I never like having it that way. That's why I suggested we moved it over in the capital fund like we did.
Did we add the interest from those in that too, or is that separate?
The interest always goes directly into those funds.
Okay.
And the interest for that 14 million goes directly into that fund. And CIP also gets interest, and the interest goes directly into the CIP fund. I think there's 100,000 Shiloh Station budgeted for that. For 2020. And if you notice, I don't know that you saw it initially, but on that second page, the investment income, look how much higher that is compared. It even just got raised yesterday because I think Shiloh had 700,000 in there before, and she goes, well, I think I want to revise that again. I said, okay, we got time to get commissioners, and so she increased that to 925,000. Which is good, it helps offset ad valorem taxes.
Yeah. That's written, sales tax.
Yep. That all helps take some pressure off ad valorem taxes. But as you commissioners know, this is by no means an intent to be the final version of the budget. It's the first draft, and there will be lots of dialogue between now and then. And actually, the commissioners think of it over the weekend. I would just as soon have an extra 1 unit or two to just plow through the budget and get it done, and just have the budget see on the item. That's when we did that in the past. That's what we did. We just have special work sessions on this budget, just like RCPD just did a lot of special sessions just to get it done.
Gotta remember, some of us have other activities that make that challenging.
Oh, no, it would only be, you know, only all three commissioners can be there for sure. We can definitely be sure of that. This process is too important for not all three people there. And then you saw the economic development there. That's another one. So that needed detail, but you can see the detail there.
I had a couple questions on that one.
Uh-huh.
On the comprehensive plan update, that's 50,000 we looked about originally. He hasn't found anybody to fill that consultant. So the 25,000 we had in there last year, are we going to, where does that go?
I put a call into Amanda on that. Unfortunately, Amanda's on an Alaskan cruise right now, so she's been hard to reach. So, yeah.
I actually spoke to her briefly on that. We don't have a revised plan of where to go at this point in time, so I don't know if that could. She's obviously got the 25, she's got half of it for this year, that's already budgeted. I don't know if that'll be enough to cover all of that or not.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of difficulty, maybe kind of swaying away from the original plan. I'm like, that's what we're gonna have to do for that. So I would assume that the amount's going to be shorter. I just don't know where at this point.
Yeah, because she couldn't find it, because she couldn't find anybody.
She's not
Use
going
that
to
money.
probably at this point in time, so. It might just be the 1 year. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is.
I was aware of that, but I didn't want to take it out without having a conversation with her.
There was another one, let's say. The condo water project, I thought we were going to be done with that final $52,000 in 23.
No, we are not. I'll get the year on that.
Oh, yeah, because I thought we only had 1 year left.
No, we have 2.
2 years.
Yeah.
maybe
This year,
is the last-
This is the last
This
year.
is the last year,
I
okay.
think that's probably right. We ended the auto lane last year, that's
Okay.
6,057, that's why there's nothing budgeted this year.
One thing I didn't see was the bond of the interest on the radio project, and it might be here and I'm just not seeing, so.
Yeah, yes, it is, it's in the bond and interest fund,
Okay.
and CIP is where we're holding the reserve for that. We keep building on that in CIP, and CIP is one of them. I'm going to give you a detailed presentation on Thursday. Like I said, that's what I meant earlier when we were talking. I said, you're not going to want to see all the things in the garage on Thursday. It's a lot of details of those larger funds. And of course, they'll be in your packet. You can study them ahead of time. Matter of fact, they're already in your packet. Already got it all prepared. To send you today. So
Okay.
Can we get in my packet tomorrow? Because I can tell you right now,
I it on Wednesday, it's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this. Maybe not get it tomorrow.
I'm gonna be leaving, like I said, I'm gonna be out in the middle of nowhere, so I'm not gonna be able to look at it.
yeah, we'll do that. And no. We will do that. Any other questions? And commissioners, if you review it, you have questions in the meantime, email them to me or give me a call and. You know, especially when you see something that needs cleared up, if we can clear it up ahead of time, I can have a quick easy answer for you on Thursday rather than during Thursday. That helps speed up the process. Sounds good. I got a list here. I'll get those cleared up. Then do the rest of it on Thursday. The bulk of the rest of it anyway.
That concludes our business. Do we have anything else?
I'm gonna mention one thing, and we don't have to go into long detail about it. We probably gonna be speaking about it a couple of times, but I'm having some topics and dialogues about some strategic planning for county sometime next year, early. I think it's too late to try to advertise it this year, but January, February-ish. I think it would probably require a retreat of some sort to start with. Just kind of working on some of the details on that. I thought it might be a good time to maybe get the reach committee to work on some specific details if we so fit. So that we've got all those things worked out well in advance. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying it's just a debate tonight, but there are some things I am talking about in regards to that. And don't want it to be a surprise.
You're talking regarding like facilities or I'm just wondering for clarification.
I don't know, just I'm just working until we find the right group of people. I'll look back through the notes of the last one that we had and see what was talked about, what can be expanded on, what needs to be done there, and go from there. But just bringing this up because that dialogue's kind of forming. I don't want it to be a surprise when it comes back later. I think it's.
Strategic plan for the county, like, there's one online.
Those are objectives.
Well,
And while those objectives are probably pretty good at this point in time, I don't know, I think that we have the vision, the focus to get to all 9 of those. Kind of DOA if you don't.
yeah, I did, unless you have a strategic plan, I got it. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the audience? Thank you for all of you for being here.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the June 29th.
Move and second, to adjourn the Raleigh County Commission